Okay. Oh, we're live.
Hi, everybody. We're live. Welcome back to Kevin Wealth TV. And today we have a special guest named Mr. Brando. Introduce yourself.
I am Mr. Brando.
Okay. So today is a very, 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 very special episode because it's a very, very special person on the line. You! And the topic is basically, let's just give you a prelude. Everybody's born with a special gift, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you, Mr. Brando, are blessed with an incredible, phenomenal gift named Synesthesia.
Yes. It's synesthesia, yes.
Right. So, can you define, in a pretty simple statement, what this gift is?
Well, it's kind of like a sensory thing. So where you ever heard of my gut feeling about something, or I trust my gut or my intuition or my sixth sense or
Yeah.
your third eye?
Mhm.
Well, what it is for me is that I see things differently. I see things in colors. So I see things based upon what I believe colors to represent in people. So, like, even though if you saw in color with me, if your colors were not, let's say, matching, like, let's say red is your favorite color, right? It's not a bad color.
Mhm.
And you see me being red, then that doesn't mean that I'm bad. Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Right.
Red is your color. Like me, blues and greens really highlight, really exemplify what I feel on a day-to-day basis.
Okay. So, how early did you realize that this was a gift of yours?
Probably,
Bringing it all the way back to your early childhood days.
wow. When I was a little kid, we lived in a tri-level house, right? A tri-level house in the Northwest means that you have the main floor, then you have a downstairs, you have an upstairs. Some people call it a basement, some people call it a split level, whatever. And
Yeah.
when I was a little kid, I used to I would watch TV in the basement because that's where the TV room was, right? But then you have to turn off all the lights and run upstairs, and then you look down this like kind of hallway into this like dark abyss.
Mm.
And when I was looking down into this like blackness, I could see shape.
Mm.
Not shape in the sense of a ghost or shape like that, but I
Mhm.
would see shapes in color, like squares and octagons and things that weren't known. Does that make sense? Like you don't really kind of understand what the shape really means at that point. You just know you see it and you recognize it. And
Mm.
just as I would encounter people as I grew up, being very young, I remember thinking like when I met my dad's friend Alan, his best friend,
Mm.
he was very vibrant to me. His soul was very, very green, very growing, very, and him and my dad were best friends. And I didn't know what a best friend was at that time.
Mm.
But I knew Alan was a person of trust, of someone that I could put trust into, full fledged. Like, I mean, I can't even describe to you the amount of just peace you find within that soul. Like when you find that person, your colors kind of in a way, like it's kind of like your colors saying it's okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Um, it
So,
sounds odd, like talking about it over the years, it sounds really odd, but like to me, it makes perfect sense because that's really how I see people.
all right. Well, in today's society, you know, people like to like ostracize those who may have unique gifts such as yours.
Mhm.
Did you ever find yourself like, like doubting yourself or feeling like an outcast to some degree?
Mm. You feel very sensitive to your environment. Like, I'll give you an example. I would be like in a room full of people, and you might only see two or three colors that look appealing to you. And what
Mhm.
happens is that you start to learn to appease all the colors to start trying to change them. But like it's very difficult. Like I didn't really tell a lot, very few people about having this going on. And like the only time you actually ever express it's like when you're extremely high or extremely low. Like you're way amped up and things are going on. And like you've heard people say, I see red. Well, I really believe that when you see red, it's go time. Like it's fight or flight. It's you against the world. You better strap up. You better do what you got to do because what's going to happen to you is you're going to get eaten by the wolves or get eaten by whatever is trying to decimate you. You know what I mean? When I say decimate, I mean really like if the spirit's strong enough for the person's aura. I mean, I don't want to sound like that. If their personality's strong enough, it's almost kind of like seeing a stop sign. Like they're that vibrant to you. Like you could just tell. There's some people I just don't fool with. I don't fool with you. Like I just don't fool with you.
Okay.
Because of what I see in you.
Okay. Okay. So when did you start telling people that you've had this gift?
Well, the only real person that really kind of got it ever was April. So like, well, no, because you gotta understand, you might hint on it to somebody like this is how I feel or this is what I see. I see a future in this. I see this. I see that, and that person really doesn't understand the vibe. Like I hear a lot of these younger people now. They talk about their energy. I'm not giving that energy, or that's not. But believe you and me, energy travels along a plane. Yes. And so like when you see their Wi-Fi, so to speak, you can kind of tell. Like, and like April was like one of the very few people like I could really like talk to about that, like on a personal level, not being scared or intoxicated or something like that, you know.
Right. And explain to everybody who the special lady April BB is.
Well, Miss BB, my wife, is the co-star of my show, Mission Show.
Yes.
Shameless plug. She's also the star of her own 2 hit YouTube channels, Miss April BB and Fashion Fabby. And she co-stars with me on my show. And I think, I call her like the YouTube ruler of the world because she's the one that you got her into YouTube. And she got me into YouTube. And I'm like the anti-YouTuber, right? Like I was the guy who was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that, Yeah. And you guys really like the energy there. Like if you could just see the really pretty, like light, like ocean greens and blues. When I start to get that vibe about what you guys inspired me to have a creative side, it makes me just bubble with just fresh. It's almost brown, like it's almost earth. It's like so organic. Like people don't understand about organic, like from farm to table or like from conception to product. That's the way I feel like when you guys really talk to me about like Mr. and Mrs. Brando, because I had no clue that Mr. and Mrs. Brando or Brando, Mr. Brando, the channel, or Mr. Brando, even the person, because I'm very real on my channel. I let my emotions really, and that's probably a fault of my own because I know you've told me a couple times, don't let these people get to you. But when I'm seeing their text on the screen, I'm seeing a color. And I'm like, attack. You know what I mean? Like, you got to fight. It's kind of hard sometimes because as I've gotten older, the colors become a lot more relevant, like a lot more prevalent. Like you see it more often than I should.
Okay. So my next question for you is, how did you manage to deal with this gift after realizing what it is? Like, how did you manage to like incorporate it into your everyday life and have it be used for like your own like understanding and wisdom of the world and meeting people and things like that?
Well, I was very fortunate early on in life. Like my dad was in sales and my dad took me on a lot of sales calls. And so like, I could almost look at the person before we went in there or when we went into the room and I could tell him, you're going to close this deal or nah, they're not going to buy anything. My dad sold insurance. He owned an insurance business. And I got really good at it to the point where he'd be like, if you find me like 3 or 4, you know what I mean, I'll buy you a burger. You know what I mean? Just little things like that. And so like when I'd walk in, I'd like kind of be like shake my head, like I see a good color, or I'd look at him and be like, I don't really see it, right? And so like when I got old enough and started working, like early even in college, like my first jobs were in sales. Like everybody was like, oh man, forget your size or whatever you look like, you present well. So like, I want you to talk to people. And so like I had the ability at that point, not just to see a color, but to manipulate it. So I could take a color that I found to be off and try to change it or get it into my own world. Yeah. Think about it. So you can't change a person's constitution, but you can change their belief in you. And that's what sales really is. It's two stories being told. You're telling me one story, I'm telling you why you should do something else. And if you buy my story, then you buy into me, and therefore your color can be manipulated over time.
Yes, ma'am. You're a genius.
Ooh, I'm dumb as hell. No, I know, and Kevin, and I mean this in the most sincere thing.
Well, goddamn.
Well, I say I'm dumb. I say I'm dumb because I haven't harnessed it the way I wish I could. Like, I wish I could see things that were more prevalent to my time. I can't look at something and say that's a winner. I can in certain things. In culinary, I can. In a lot of business aspects, I can. But in a lot of things, it's a failure. It's kind of a curse because you think something. It makes you have preconceived conceptions about things that normally, through your own perception process, you might tend to try. So I wasn't very guarded as a kid. I was very, very adventurous. Like, nothing scared me. Daredevil stuff. Like, I skied. I played football. I played football in college. Heavy drinker, big partier, life of the party. I mean, bigger than my own persona. But they got to understand that's the color I wanted them to see. They never really got to see the colors that I really wanted them to see. And that's where the manipulation comes into fact.
Right. So you say that it's also a curse, but I think that, there's a lot of like light and dark to the gift that you're blessed with. I mean, we live in a world of duality. There's a up, there's a down. The left, there's a right. There's an in, there's an out. There's a north, there's a south, there's an east, west. There's a good and the bad. There's a bad and the good. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't look at it and just smack a label as it being a curse or whatever.
No, you can't. You can't. No, I'll take that. Okay, let's go back and talk about something you just said because it's very, very important, I think. Look at duality, right? Look at good, look at evil, look at light, look at dark, look at a lot of things that are dual purpose. And like, you got to understand that a lot of the times when people speak on these terms, a lot of times the perception is like witchcraft or Illuminati or some higher stake or some thing that has a negative connotation to it. So as the person that is I'm bestowed with that, I have to treat it as such as it is a gift. And you can trust it to a fault. Like, literally, like
I understand what you mean.
You can darn near put your life to it. Like, there's no, you know what I mean? Like, if you know, you know. And sometimes you may know and learn later on what you don't know.
Okay.
And that's a stranger revolution.
Okay. So how has this gift impacted like your relations with others? Because you say that you're able to like see the colors of a specific person, but say if it's like a friend, like a potential friend or a potential ex-lover or it's like, what are your experiences with like making new friends with the gift? Like, is there like a certain color that pops out for people that you're just attracted to? Or like, also you said you see shapes as well?
Not like I used to and younger, because I think that as I was kind of understanding, the shapes became colors. Because as a kid, you understand shapes.
Yeah.
Like squares are usually what? Houses, buildings, structures, safety. And those colors become foundational, like browns and grays. And you think of architecture, think of not art, because that's a different aspect of it. Don't think of creativity, think of finite things. You know what I'm saying? And as that grows, so like, I'll give you an example. So I meet somebody, a woman, right? And if I'm attracted to her, then their color is always jaded.
What do you mean?
Stuff is involved. Because if you want that person to like you, then you don't necessarily see them in a bad way at first.
Hold on. So is jaded a color?
Yeah, jade's a color.
Really? What color is jade? Was that like a green?
It's a green. Okay, think of an emerald mixed with an amethystine.
Girl, I'm sorry. I mean, what is amnesty?
Okay, so like crystals, right? So like when you see that blue green like quartzy color, rocky, and
Yeah.
that's the shape, right? So like you see that mixed in with that green, that like it's almost like the color of the darkest part of my cup, right?
Ooh.
And that's like sexuality, like that's duality, that's swirl. That's where you start to kind of like you don't know which part of your brain is running your brain, whether it's the sensual side or the pragmatic side. So your brain, your actual gift can be sensual because if you want something, you're going to go after it, whether it's good or bad for you. And sometimes, like I said, that's not revealed until much later.
Okay. Do you see this gift as a form of your own intuition?
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, definitely. Like I've made split decisions on my life based upon this.
Wow. Are you
Yeah,
serious?
my first wife, I married her because she was like a very cool colored like pink. Like she was woman incumbent at that time. Now we grew apart, right? But I mean, she was like, hey, we've been through a lot. We did a lot. We should get married. And I was like, you're right. We should. Boom, done. Because I'm also a person that once I put stake into that color, it's forever. Unless you change that or I don't see you in a dream later on, that forever happens. Because remember, lucid dreams are a very big part of perceptionary depth. You have to live it, the subconscious, to really believe it in the conscious. So, I really put a lot of stake into dreams and sleep.
Very interesting. So you have pretty vivid dreams as well.
April will tell you I talk in my sleep. My eyes are open in my sleep. I sell in my sleep. I talk to other people. I think I've talked to dead people. Not in an ugly way. I don't think like I think I talk to the memory of that person, not that person. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like the things I wish I could have said or should have done. I'll give you an interesting point. So I'm in sales. Right? So early on in my sales career, where I'm at now, I've been there for 23 years. Literally, I could replay those conversations in my brain from 8 o'clock in the morning till 11 or 12 when I got off, and with a color. You screwed up. You did right. Say this, say that. So in understanding how people work, that's where the gift becomes kind of a curse because you start to understand that if you do these things correctly, these things will be your outcome. You see what I'm saying? So there used to be this big time joke at my job that the best salespeople are the ones that can pick up the most women. If women or men can pick each other up fastest, then and I was always better at it because I could see through turmoil, I could see through heartache, I could see through problems, I could see all that. So I could look at somebody and just say, hey, Kevin, what's really going on?
Hey, shit.
Right? And at that time, people don't listen to each other. So when you sit back and say, I want to hear the story because all the colors got to make sense. And when they go through it and they tell you, oh, that's why I see that. And that's why I see that. Then you start to have a real profound understanding of the basic human element. And that's why I say to people, don't see in color, but I see in color. Because I think the biggest lie that's been told to mankind is all men are created equal or all people are created equal. It's not true. Some people are very good and some people are very evil. Very evil.
Interesting. Very interesting. For those of you who may or may not know about Mr. Brando, he actually has a channel where he talks about finances, but more specifically foreign currencies, and even more specifically the Iraqi dinar. And it's all about money, 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 money. And my question to you is, do you feel that this gift has helped you when dealing with money, such as investments into the market?
Yes and no. Because remember, sometimes that color doesn't truly reveal itself till later. So early on in business, being young, I lost a lot of money. A lot of money. I mean, more money than a person should lose. And not gambling, but taking those risks because you see the color for what it is right now. It's a flash. Bam. Perfect. Let's do it. I got the money. Let's do it. And then as you get older, you start to kind of study it. And that's what happened with the dinar. I got introduced to it. I looked at it for a while. Nothing happened. I based it upon the introduction through the purchase. It was probably all like real. You know that yellow that you see on like the live symbol, like how it's live like that, but think of it more green. It's kind of like stop go, like do it, but don't do it. Do it, do it, don't do it. So like every time I would make a purchase, it would become a vibrant blue. Like, oh my God. The endorphin of buying that currency always made it right. And the more I researched, the more I read, it became more and more blue, more and more blue. And I still wholeheartedly believe that the Iraqi dinar will make money, whether it be through a lot of different sources. We can get that in another interview. But the Iraqi dinar, it won't be a wealth transfer in the world because of capitalism. That's my problem. See, I've read too much about the real world. So the perception of the real world isn't always correct. Does that make sense? How I see the world doesn't really make the world how it is.
How you view the world.
Really, the world really is or works.
Okay.
Does that make sense? No. I'll explain it.
Yeah.
So, do you believe in equality?
Equality.
People are equal. Race, creed, color, sexual orientation.
In terms of spiritual?
No. I mean, basic humanality right here in America.
No. Hell, motherfucking
no. Why would you? Because all of us are different, right?
Yes.
So the way I see different isn't bad. So I'll give you an example. I meet someone from Mexico. So I'm like, hola. And they're like, hola. And I'm like, ¿cómo estás? They're like, muy bien, y tú? I'm like, bien, bien. Me llamo Brandon. Me llamo Jose. Okay. Now, I might be, ti me gusta, bebe Coca-Cola, bebe rum. And what do you drink? What do you do? And I'll get to know them because I don't see their difference as a hindrance or somewhere to be like, I don't want to talk to them because they may not speak English or they may not be of my. That's why people always get on me. They're like, what political standpoint are you? Well, I'm not anymore. I don't really think of politics in the same way as your average human does.
Same here. And people like hound me for not like consuming CNN each and every day.
You know what that is?
What?
That's called Stockholm Syndrome. When you're locked in a space where all you're fed is the same information, sooner or later, you start to believe the information you're fed, good or bad. So when those captors would capture those people and hold them for days, in the beginning, they hated their captors. But at the end, they loved and revered their captors almost to the point where they would die for their captors. So they felt like their captors had endeared themselves somehow to them. That's what the media does right now via politics and race and sexuality and gender and everything from the U.S. military all the way down to buying your average groceries at your average grocery store. It's based upon the principle of inequality, not equality. That's why you don't have like the ultra rich living by the ultra poor. Just doesn't happen.
Right. Alrighty. My next question for you. Is this a gift that takes time to start picking up on, or does it automatically show itself once you start communicating with others? And also, does this gift apply to animals as well? Like, do you also see animals in colors as well? So
yeah, I do. Contrary to popular belief, I believe animals have some type of forbearance with our Lord. I think all animals do. I like animals, period. I'm more fond of some animals than others, and I can look at an animal and say, oh, that's friendly. They're very green to me. And I'll just put my hand out. And they'll be like, they bite everybody. And I'll be like, no, they're very sweet dogs. And they'll lick my hand. And then some dogs, I'll be like, no. Like Daisy. If you ever saw Daisy, people are like, she's a mean little shit. She's this and this and this, but I'll always see her as that little pup, sickly, green as hell, laying on that blue pillow and just full of just clinging on to whatever she can hold on to.
Mm-hmm.
But put Daisy in an environment with other dogs, and she becomes very red, very recluse, very almost like she doesn't understand her own species, and that's my own fault. Because I've guarded her and safeguarded her in homes and apartments and stuff where her interaction with other dogs, her ability to develop her own color system never transpired. I neglected her that. See, mine was having interaction with people. And when you ask that question about can you develop it, was it early? Yeah, it was very early. Very early. I like some people, I dislike others, and it's till this day. And I mean this sincerely. If I fool with you, I fool with you the long way. Like, I'm that guy you call with a shovel in them gloves. I'm that guy. You know what I'm saying? But I'm also the guy that you tell me your deepest, darkest secrets, and I'll just put it in my memory bank, and I won't ever repeat it. But that's because I'll see the file as a color, and I'll understand the relevance, even to someone that I feel to be not of a color maybe I trust.
Interesting.
You learn to keep secrets, and you learn to keep your mouth shut. And I met this doctor once who saw in color, and it was like, yeah, oh my! It would take April to tell you her name. And we were talking casual conversation, and she said, blah blah blah, and I said, yeah, blah blah blah, and she said, that's a color to you. And I said, yeah, it's a color. I mean, and I said it like that, and she said, what color is it? And I said, I don't really want to talk about that. Like, we're not here for that. You know what I'm saying? And she goes, no, I mean, tell me about it. And I came to find out that she's in Washington, D.C. She's one of the leading scientists behind this perception.
Really?
Yeah. April has all her information. I've talked to her a few times. I'm not probably as skilled at it as some of the people that she educates to it, but I definitely have it.
Okay. So let's talk about color definitions. What are some of the colors you tend to classify as bad or low vibrational or negative? And also, how did you come to understanding that that is a negative color?
Through pain. Pain can be physical or it can be emotional. So negative to me is very red. I don't do well in red. Like red as a feature, red as a highlight. To me, when I see reds like on the computer, it's like stop. And my eyes fixate it and I stare at it. Like I'm like, something bad's there. I don't like red. I just don't do good with red. I don't do well with red. I don't do well with when I call it black, I mean like obese black. Like if you've ever seen something so black you can see through it to the other side like a tunnel, that's the black I see. I see very, very ugly colors in some oranges. Like I don't like that pumpkin orange color. It just doesn't sit right with me. That rouge that clowns on the face, that orange is God,
I understand.
Pretty colors.
Okay. So what about the positive, high vibrational colors?
So a very, very high, very spiritual, very loving color to me is green. The other is blue. The other is that pink, but that pink that's like, I know it sounds crazy. It's probably going to sound like atypical sexual masochistic man, but like rainbow bright pink is very fluid. So when you see in pinks, you're seeing fluidity. Like it's a symphony of choice and respect, and it's kind of like bloods merging. Like if you've ever seen that blood color where it's blood with plasma, it's so dark, but just imagine it highlighted with all those cells and colors mixed in between the vein, and you see it going left or right or merging in the cells bombarding. That's a fluidity that you very rarely see, especially in the human race. I don't see it in myself. I don't know if it's possible to see it on a holistic level. Like for a country or a person or persons, we all have good and we all have bad. And I don't think anybody's fluid. I think that people can pretend. They can pull the mask over your eyes. They can fake it till they make it, but they'll never be fluid forever.
Interesting. Okay, so I just want to ask this question. It's about me.
Go ahead.
What color do you see when you are speaking with me?
You're very whimsical. You know, April and I do this game. She probably told you this. We do this game all the time where she's like, read me. And I can read anybody just by looking at them. That's why stuff like this, I have to see you. You're very whimsical. You don't really, I don't want to say it like this, but you don't commit to anything wholly. You're very free spirited. You have very little regrets, but you have a lot of self doubt. You're finding yourself in a lot of ways that you thought that as a child you wouldn't have found yourself today. You're not finding the acceptance that you'd necessarily want, but you're every day fighting for it, and you're achieving it on small levels, whether it be family. Your business hasn't started yet. Like what you're doing now isn't what you're going to be doing in 5 years from now, or even maybe 5 hours from now. Does that make sense? Because your colors are that. Okay, if you could take like blues and greens and put them in the Charlie Brown swirls. Remember Charlie Brown? And he had the wind, it would blow, and it was those black things.
Yes.
But the black things aren't black anymore. They're colors. They're blues and greens and pinks. Fluid, like whoo, 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 like swirls. That's you. You're not. I don't want you to be offended. No, not in that way. I don't mind. I mean, I don't mean it like that. It's like you're not black, you're not white, you're kind of all those things, if that was a color. Like it doesn't make sense why, in a way, because I don't think you've really like grabbed a hold of your own self yet. Like, I think the person, if we were to have this interview 10 years from now, and you're like, I'm this, or I'm this, and I'm this, and I can say, well, that's why I see this, or this is why I see you very creative, but I also see you very like, you don't let the creativity out. You hold it in. I don't know why. I mean, maybe there's something going on in there that you just can't be creative with, but no, not that Kevin. That's not the Kevin I'm talking about. I'm talking about the other Kevin. Not that Kevin. That Kevin's for my camera. But that Kevin's the Kevin everybody loves. That's your facade color. But there's another color. You're very blue, but you're very green. You're a lot like me. You only let people see what you want them to see. There's something else. And it's not a bad thing. It's just like the whole confidence thing. Like, you're confident, but we're not. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ham. Yes, turkey. I understand.
But your creativity is so much higher than mine. Like, when I was your age, I wasn't that creative. I would have never done an interview of someone about perceptionally this or anything. I would have never, of all the things I could have thought about us to talk about, this was not it.
I mean, also, like, I'm only 23 years old. You know what I'm saying? Of course, right? I'm still finding myself. But, you know, I feel like you're definitely accurate with what you're saying.
I think, you know what else I think is going to be very interesting for you? I think you're going to end up having your education be through life lesson. Like, I don't see you as a scholar, but you're damn sure not stupid. You'll be a lot like me. You'll do a lot of self-reading when it suits you. You'll grasp things as you want to grasp them, as life shows you what to take a hold of. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Meaning that you could be a painter at one point in your life, and then you could totally be like a CEO of a company. Like, it just depends on what you want to conquer.
Very interesting. You know, yes. I'm gonna put a little bit of my tea out there. For my birthday, I got a reading done, a special kind of reading. It was an Akashic Records reading. And she told me of the soul group that I come from. And the soul group is a very utopian, divine kind of universe or space. And these people, like, they can see the light in like almost any and everybody, and they're highly creative. But the way they move about life is like, they can, like we said, they could be a painter today and a CEO tomorrow, and then this and that, the next, and so on and so forth. And like, they might not have like completed the journey as a CEO, but they transition into something completely different, and it will come back to whatever. It's like, it bounces around, which I think is very it correlates to you saying that it's not really like a specific color. When you're talking about the Charlie Brown winds, it's sort of like all of the colors. So I do correlate that analogy to what I've picked up in my own reading.
Right on. Right on. So do you see in color?
Oh, I don't see in color. No, ma'am. I mean, as far as spiritual gifts, I'd have to tell
Well,
you.
you have a gift.
Yes. I mean, everybody does, but
No. A specific gift. What's your gift? Like, what do you see? You see something.
listen, this is an interview about Mr. Brando, period.
No. Hold on. Your audience is gonna want to know this. What is your gift like? Insight, or do you see like? I don't know. What do you?
Well,
What?
I'll let you know one of them.
Okay.
One of them is clear audience. So I definitely hear all the fucking time. Like I hear spirits all the time. I hear my angels talking to me every day, all day. I always call on my angels and I tell them to walk around me as an entourage everywhere I go. And they literally laugh with me, talk with me, tell me who to talk to, tell me who to not talk to. And then when they bring people to me to talk to me, it's like I know some things about their lives. And when I talk to them, we start talking about like their childhood and stuff like that. Literally, I can meet a person off of the street and then like they'll tell me about their childhood. And it's just like the conversation is very healing for them. And then sometimes I don't even be realizing what the fuck I said. But I've had multiple experiences where the other person would be like, damn, like what you just said to me, like I'm about to cry right now because I needed to hear that. And sometimes I don't even know what the fuck I'd be saying in the moment. But, through, my own information that has came to me, it was clear audience. And then that's when I started to like, embrace it a little bit more and stuff like that. And even sometimes before I go to sleep, I hear voices talk all the time, but it's not in a scary way. It's like your typical person talking. And sometimes I'll hear sometimes I'll hear like I want to say like they sound black to me. And so sometimes I hear like, girl, ain't nobody worry about that, blah, blah, blah. Like I hear conversations like a radio, like, like when you're like tuning the radio and like
I do. I very much do.
Right. And so it's like that. And so I'm just like, let me just go to sleep. And so I just like ignore it and I go to sleep and that's it. But yeah.
Do you hear good voices and bad voices?
No, not at all. Sometimes I really don't even think I even vibrate that low to even pick up on that. For me, I always just hear like, honestly, like jokes, like funny stuff.
Okay, can I make you laugh? So at one point in my life, I was very much, because of my own reality, seeking out spiritual guidance. I mean, spiritual guidance on like a godly level. Like I wanted to find God. I wanted to talk to God. I wanted God to answer some questions for me that I had, that I thought, if I could just find a God or the God, one God. And so I adopted not just Christianity, but I read the Quran. I read many of you Jewish texts. I studied Buddha. I took a little bit from everything, and I started to realize that over my life, those shapes and colors were sometimes more spiritually, let's just say, enriched than because of what I was taught. You know what I'm saying? So like I believe in jinns. So like if you ever study the Quran, they're jinns. There's good jinns and bad jinns. So like on one shoulder, I have a good jinn. On my right, the right hand of God is always going to be the favorable side. The left hand of God is not going to always be the favorable side. So on this half, it's very evil and very fire and brimstone, and the tattoos are very violent, and not violent, but more aggressive. And on the left side, the tattoos are very loving and funny and whimsical and blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to look at it from the standpoint of, oh my God, like there's a duality to me. Like if you could split me in half and you study about, you're going to say this half live this way. And that's where the Jacksons come in. And that's where the Hyder side comes in. And that's why I have my last name tatted on my back in bright pink.
Nice.
Yeah. With lots of cherry blossoms and a castle. I mean, yeah, because the freedom of expression is the stifling point of creativity. Because you can never be creative enough, but you can always hold it back. I can remember times in my life that I wanted to get up on my soapbox and tell everybody, I have this to say. But because I saw too many negative colors, I sat back and said, no, just let it go.
Mm.
Right or wrong.
Mm.
And that's the duality of the gift and the curse. It is what it is.
Wow. So before we wrap up this interview, do you have any loving last words to share with your fans, Mr. Celebrity?
Well, first of all, I'm no celebrity. I'm a Kangaguru. I've made up that name. I've coined it. I didn't make it up. One of my listeners did, but I will say this.
Honestly, yo, seriously, y'all, like, you and April are honestly like YouTube stars in my eyes. I'm just like, damn, like, I have celebrity friends. Like, I legit have, like, you know, I'm gonna be like, yo, you know April Beebe and Mr. Brando? Yeah, I know them too.
Well, can I say this? When you asked me, and we were talking in the hotel when we were at the last trip in Vegas, we were all talking, and you were like, we should do an interview, we should do an interview. The very first colors I saw of you were not that color. And I would tell anybody this about you, that if you can ever in your life, and I'm not even going to say misjudge, because that's not the right word. If I can ever say, understand a free spirit when you see one and don't always think of that parakeet in the cage, I would say that's you. Because being older, I'm more in that parakeet in the cage. I got my little life. It's simple. It's easy. Now I got Miss BB in the cage. It's all good. We're happy. I got more in the page. But when you meet somebody like yourself and they're so just open to things and just, you know, that's what the future represents to America. And if I was going to tell any American this, don't give up on America. And I know it sounds crazy, right? America. Okay, I know you're going to think I'm nuts. I know you're going to think I'm crazy, okay? I don't believe that anything or everybody will be created equal, but I do believe that as a melting pot of society, that in this phase of our lives, if we could ever learn to get together, the whole earth could learn to get together.
Yes.
And I think that doing stuff like this with you was definitely humbling. I am not a star. I'm not. I have some very cool, badass friends like Kevin Wealthy and his channel. Badass interviewer. If you ever want in the hot seat with him, be ready, because he is intense. His questions are amazing. I think I've said this to April. I'll say it to you. You need to do more of these with other people. You do. You know why? Because you have a gift for it.
Thank you, Mr. Brandon. Thank you. All righty, you guys. That wraps up the interview. You guys can catch Mr. Brando. Type in Mr. Brando on YouTube, right?
Yeah, just type in Mr. Brando on YouTube, or type in IQD or dinar or investment, and hopefully my name should be first, second, or third. And if it's not, call me, because I'm doing a horrible job of branding.
It better be first. Period.
Well, because you know why, Kevin Wealthy? Because everybody in life one day wants to be Kevin Wealthy.
Oh, God. Everybody should strive to be their own motherfucking goddamn selves. Period. I am...
Okay, before you go, can I ask you one more question?
Yes.
Do you believe in the percents, like 1%ers, 5%ers?
What is that? You're talking about, like, as far as, like
the connectivity to, like, your true existence. Like 1%ers are like the closest to God. 5%ers are like very close to God and abide by certain creativity and rules and stuff.
If we're really being honest, I really do believe that God is already within us.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like even if you are operating life on a more egoistical kind of side, where you're like a lot more like fear-based and like you're a lot more like judgmental and like really negative, even though it's not really positive and high vibrational, that can indirectly lead you into learning life lessons that will bring you back into understanding yourself from a higher perspective. Right. So I don't really believe in like the whole 1%, 2%, 3% kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I already feel as though all of us already have God within us already. I don't really acknowledge like God as like being in the sky, because I just don't do sky gods. I really do understand that like I am God, you are God. Literally, we both share light from the same source. And we're all facets of that. So to say like 1%, I'm 1% or 1% closer to God, or whatever the fuck that is, I feel like that's such a very linear way of thinking about things when in reality we are multidimensional beings. So to put like a 1%, 2%, 3%, 25% onto it, I feel like that's just so like that just creates confusion and inner conflict that does not really need to be there, because you're no more or less of God than who you are right now.
Can I tell you something?
Mhm.
That's a very 1% point of view.
Okay.
I love it. No. I'll end it because I could talk to you all night about philosophy and my views on religion. And I don't get into that on my channel because I think it's a very personal thing. I think that, but if you ever want to have that conversation about that, let me know.
Oh yeah, most definitely. That could totally be another video. Like I'm 100% here for that.
I'm 100% for that.
Yes. All right, you guys. I am going to go downstairs and cook some motherfucking dinner. I will catch all of you guys later. Say bye, Brandon.
Bye.
Bye.